Let me start this recording and make sure that this is working. Okay. But yeah, so I'm going to be recording just in case we have internet issues. And then if anybody wants a copy of this recording, that we can send that out. So just let us know. And I apologize. I am at home. I have a sick kiddo. One sick kiddo and the other two are at school. But anyway, we're gonna do this, and I'm glad that everybody was able to get somewhere safely. Hopefully you guys are all at home. And to confirm, yes, tomorrow you are excused from in-person duties. So, and I think you guys don't have any lecture things until Wednesday. So, that should mean most likely for all of you, studying time, which is awesome. But, if there is virtual capability for seeing patients with some of your preceptors, that is an option as well. And if they want you guys to do that, that is a possibility. With those at OU, that probably wouldn't happen. It's just a little bit difficult to make that happen, but there's my kiddo in the background. But if some of you are interested in something like that, are you okay, Bubby? Yeah. Okay. Then that's a possibility as well. And then we'll have to hold tight and see what happens for Wednesday. Most likely, from what it sounds like, it will be converted to virtual as well. So just be making sure that you're listening and looking for your emails and phone messages. Okay. Let me try to share my screen, and if you guys have a question or anything, I'm really bad at keeping up with the chat. So if you have a question, please use your mic. Or if somebody's mic isn't working, if somebody can let me know that somebody's trying to ask a question, that would be great. Because I probably won't see it once I start the PowerPoint. Okay. Does anybody have any questions thus far? Okay, I don't hear anything. Can you guys see my PowerPoint? And again, I can't see the chat. So if somebody can vocalize. Awesome. Thank you. Okay. So this PowerPoint is on Leo. You guys should have all of our materials available on Leo. You guys should all be familiar with Leo, but we'll kind of go over some of these things. Objectives. We discussed.
I think we cannot see it.
Oh, you can't. Okay, hold on. Let me try that again.
We cannot see it.
Okay. Share screen. Where'd it go? Okay, that should be this one. Your screen sharing. Okay, can you guys see it now?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. Okay, thank you for letting me know. So the objectives for this lecture is to specify the requirements of passing the family medicine clerkship, cover important policies for this rotation, and state the requirements for the didactic session preparation. We'll state the requirements for student professionalism and behavior on the rotation, and recognize areas of personal bias that may prevent equitable care. All right. So, take note of the contact information. I've been trying to update wherever I see old contact information, but anywhere if you see Dr. Kelly or Jessica, those are the old contacts. It will be just me and Shandy. You guys have already been in communication with Shandy, so that is perfect. But I will ask you, anytime that you feel like you need to email me, please, please, please also always email Shandy together. We are we both came into this role early this fall. So we're new-ish, but I've been doing this for several years. I just was officially named this title in the fall, but Shandy is new as of July, August time. But she now knows a lot of how to answer the questions that come up. So, and I don't always see the emails. Sometimes several weeks will go by and then I will see an email that I didn't see. But she's really good at, if there's something urgent, then she'll say, hey, did you see this email from so and so? So please, 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 unless it's something about Shandy, of course, then please copy her on the email. All right. If you have a question, please look for the answer in your syllabus. A lot of the questions at the beginning of this year were questions that were in the syllabus. You guys have been pretty good about looking for the answers in your syllabus more recently. And also sorry, my son's advancing the slides. I've also come to recognize the questions that you guys commonly ask. So I'm trying to address that up front. But if you do have any questions, please feel free to ask. All right. So on the family medicine rotation, the nice things that you'll get to do is work more in a community setting with different outpatient preceptors within the community, or we have our hub sites available. Some of you are here at our OU family medicine location, but even then you'll get to see interactions within the community. You'll also see how much we work with other healthcare professionals with physical therapy and social work. And then we have pharmacists that are also set in our clinic as well, that are very helpful. We have one of our pharmacists, Mary Scheffler, that she works with our inpatient in-service team in the morning, and then in the afternoon she comes over to our clinic. Very, very valuable. And then of course, all of the specialists that we work with. In family medicine, we are very much orchestrators of everything, where you'll learn how different people have different comfort zones with what we're okay with managing on our own before sending to a specialist. For me, I do a lot of women's health. So I handle a lot of that on my own. Diabetes care, a lot of us handle a lot of that on our own. Neurology things, rheumatology things, diabetes things, thyroid things. We all have different comfort levels with it. I know that there's some people, as soon as they see anything abnormal, they'll send them to the specialist. But over time, those are things that I like to do and see how specialists handle different things. Yes. How they handle different things, and learn from the notes whenever I get them back. So that's a really nice way to figure things out. You'll also get practice management information, kind of learning how different places make money, how they bill. That's something that hasn't been taught in medical school. And I don't know how quickly that's going to change. I know some people are talking about it, but they're also talking about lots of things that are trying to cut out from medical school as well with budget cuts. So it's more of something that you'll learn more in residency, and but a little bit in medicine too, that I try to throw in tidbits of that, or in medical school. And then we talked about the pharmaceutical industry, lots of post-residency opportunities from family medicine. I initially thought I wanted to do pediatrics. I had one little kiddo before medical school, and I absolutely loved his pediatrician. I thought she was like an angel, and I thought she was amazing. And my son had colic, and she was just so good. But flash forward to med school, third year, I loved every single rotation. I loved internal medicine. I loved surgery. I loved OB. And I was like, I don't think I want to see only kids all day, every day. I'm going to miss the adult interactions because it's very night and day interactions with all of them. But I just loved every single rotation, and I really didn't want to commit to any one thing. So family medicine was a really good option for me. I'm very procedural heavy. I initially thought that I wanted to do full scope with C sections. I ended up not leaning towards that. A lot of it with family and the lifestyle. But I do lots of procedures, lots of women's health, deliver babies, and you'll see lots of varieties with that. Post residency, we have, here at OU, we're a sports med heavy program, and we have 2 fellowship positions in sports med. Our you guys worked with this morning, Dr. Barrett and Dr. McCoy, the 2 of our sports med guys, and they work with, everywhere with MMA, the OKC Dodgers, the Thunder. They do the basketball tournaments, the college basketball tournaments, the softball tournaments. So it's really neat getting to have a lot of exposure to all of that. We'll have other residents do sleep medicine, ER fellowships. This one of our sleep, we had one stay at OU for sleep medicine. We had one go to Stanford for sleep. Hospitalist fellowships, OB fellowships, lots and lots of opportunities, really. So it's really nice, all the different choices you can go into afterward. Duty hours with family medicine, not any different than any other rotation. The rules are the same no matter which rotation you're on. So you should not be getting anywhere close to that with our rotation. If you're getting close, like that's a big problem. And you guys should be doing really half of that with our work hours. But as a rule, no more than 80 hours a week averaged over a 4-week period. You need to have a minimum of 1 day and 7 off. You guys should have the weekends off. Clinical and work education periods must not exceed 24 hours of continuous scheduled clinical assignments. Okay. Student abuse policy, it's laid out a little bit here. If you want more detailed information, you can look at in Leo under the course information. All the guidelines are very strictly spelled out. We are zero tolerance policy for student abuse. If you have any concerns about that, again, I need to know about it. And we'll do our best to keep it as anonymous as possible. We do get complaints here and there. The complaints that we've gotten haven't really been quite abuse. It's been more of, hey, this happened. Like there was inappropriate remarks made about patients, not the students, and it just kind of makes the student feel uncomfortable, or political things that are said, or but thankfully it hasn't been the students themselves. But if there's anything that's kind of going on that you're like, this kind of didn't seem right, please let me know. I want you guys to have a really good experience in family medicine. And I do help with the selection of preceptors, and if we have to fire a preceptor, I also handle that. So please let me know. And again, like I said, we'll keep it as anonymous as possible. If it's something that's not if it's something that we can wait on, then we can kind of let a few months go by so that they can kind of not pinpoint a specific student before we give cumulative feedback to a preceptor. But if it's something urgent, emergent, then obviously please let us know, and we can talk with whoever we need to talk with the dean, or whatever we need to do to help protect you. I am on your side, and I want to make sure that you are protected. We already talked about the syllabus. You guys are familiar with Leo. You obviously know how to get on already. Personal goals, something that you guys should have already turned in this morning. So, but on another note, the personal goals is something that you guys, so if somebody can tell me, did Shandy, whenever you met with Shandy briefly, did she give you that mid-goal preceptor feedback form?
Yes, we got it.
Okay, perfect. So on that form, the same things that you like what you guys turned in to Shandy or through Leo, you'll want to also write those goals on your feedback form and keep your feedback form readily available super early. I know like we're having all this weather at the beginning of your month. But as soon as possible, when you first meet your preceptor, go ahead and bring that out and say, these are my goals. I want to ask you what your goals are for me. And so that they can establish their expectations of you. And that we'll talk more about that form, but that form you'll need to hold on to. You'll have to have it signed, and you'll turn that into me. Okay. Midway through. It's not something that's going to be at the end. So that's what confuses some students is it's a mid goal feedback form. So you can't wait until the end of the rotation to turn it in. Okay. Evaluations, you guys will get evaluations. Your preceptors will get evaluations, and you guys are usually really good at filling them out, but you want to fill them out after each didactic session. So don't forget to do that. The pet logs. So this is through Leo, the things that you log. There's 20 things that we want you. Sorry, my computer keeps shaking. You gotta keep your legs down, okay? There's 20 things that you'll need to log. And for the most part, you guys check these off really easy with no problem. But the the problem is that sometimes you guys forget to actually log them. Um, Again, whenever I meet with you midway and you turn in that mid-goal preceptor form to me, we will also print out a list of the things that you haven't logged midway as a gentle reminder that you need to be logging your things. A lot of you will have everything already done by that point, which is great. But that that list of logs of things you need to log is something else that you want to keep near and dear to you so that you are actively looking and seeking out these things. There's certain times when you're like, oh shoot, I should have asked about this with this patient because then I could have checked this off of my list. So just keep it at the front of your mind so that you are being proactive about it. Okay. Here's a list of things. It is listed on Leo, so you can go and look at. Okay. And if you don't see it in real life, then there is extra stuff that you'll have to do. So go ahead and do it the easier way and get that done. These are your recommended weekly case readings. So try to keep up with that as best as you can. On that note, I will tell you our shelf exam is really pretty killer. It's one of the hardest ones. One of the hardest finals that you'll have during your third year. Students tend to do a little bit better and better as the year goes on because you're getting more and more exposure to things from different rotations, and family medicine obviously is a accumulation of all the different things. So naturally you're being exposed, but it's not a joke. It is a really tough test and not everybody passes. And our minimum passing for the grade is a 60. Not everybody does that. Um, the I did not design the test. Um, it is something that was started. I think it's only been in this format for 2 years, where it's pre-made questions, and the previous course director um, and the Tulsa course director selected the questions themselves. um, and all that I have not seen the test myself, but what I have been told is that every single question you can find the answer to in that book that Shandy gave you, and with these case readings. Um, it's not a thin book. It's very dense. There's a lot of material in it. um, and to answer one of the questions correctly, it might be one little sentence in that book. Um, there is also, if you haven't seen it already, a study guide. Um, the study guide, in my opinion, is not the best study guide. Again, I did not create that. And the people that did create that have also have admitted that they don't think it's super helpful. The study guide is a list of words, things, concepts that you will encounter on the test. Some things, yeah, some things are right answers to questions, and some of those are wrong answers to questions. So that, like it's, if you look at that list and you don't know what something is on that list, then you may want to look into it so that you know that it's not the right answer on the test. It's helpful in that manner. But I would not use that purely for your test studying. Um, what I have told all previous groups is to ask what other people did to study and asked if they felt like it worked well for them. I know that some people are using just the book. Some people are using the UWorld. There's also ABFM questions that are free and available to you guys. For our board studying test, those are the ABFM and the UWorld are the two things that, like, whenever I took my boards when I finished residency, UWorld was the only thing that I used just to study. And that's what a lot of people did, and ABFM for some people was all that people did. So again, can give you enough of the material, but which way is the right way for this particular test, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. So my best answer is to tell you guys to ask what other people would recommend. If they said, I did this, but I would have done this, then that would be great. And if some of you have already done that and you know what would be good, you can share that with me, and I can share that with future students along the way. But that is something that I would like to know from you guys. Okay. This is what I talked about briefly. So midway through the course, it's usually on a Monday, where you guys are going to do your OSCE, if you see it on your calendar. So the Friday before, you turn in your EBM assignment. And then that Monday, unless there's some type of a holiday that had to mess things up, but that Monday, you guys will do your OSCE. We'll talk more about your OSCE. You'll do your OSCE. You will present your EBM assignment, and you will turn in your mid-goal feedback form to me, all in the same day. So please don't forget about any one of those things. We'll talk more about some of those. Okay. So you guys have your form, but here's the form. And it never fails that I have some students come and they don't have their form signed, or they didn't have their preceptor fill out their portion. It's a little bit more of a problem if you're at the family medicine location, because you'll see, you'll kind of spread out your time a little bit more between preceptors. You only have to have one of your preceptors fill it out, but I would have one of the ones that's going to be filling out your evaluation be filling this out for you, so that you're not blindsided whenever they fill out your grade evaluation. And this is why I want you guys from day one to tell your preceptor um, what you're hoping to get out of it, and asking them what they want you to do expectations wise. I want you guys to get a good grade in this course. I want you to get an A, and I don't want this to be a reason that brings you down any. I ask them to be brutally honest with you. Whether or not they do that, I don't know. But I've told them that it does not do you or them any good to just tell you, oh yeah, you're doing great. But to give you good, honest, and specific feedback. And you guys, it's totally fair for you to ask for the same thing. And I would ask every single day and say, can you give me some honest and specific feedback? You deserve that. And they should be telling you that information. Okay. And like with this example, you can tell them up front, I would like to earn an A for this rotation. Please share with me your expectations for an A student. That way, you know up front, and they know up front that they need to really, really be honest with you. Okay. Here's a breakdown of your grade. For most things, as long as you follow the instructions and you remember to put your name on your paper, you will get a good grade. I literally still have people forgetting to put their name on their paper. It's not on their paper, it's not on the file, and it gets sent to me, and I have no idea whose paper it is until I get to the very end. And you don't get a good grade, a good I don't bump you down to like a D or anything, but that's silly points to miss for not putting your name on your assignment. Just like we have to remember to sign our charts. I have to send charts back to residents whenever they don't sign their charts. You have to remember to put your name. I should not have to be saying this to grown students, but you would be surprised. For all these things, there will be templates and instructions for what to do. If you're confused by any of the instructions or the templates, feel free to ask. But for the most part, if you follow the instructions, you follow a template, you will be fine. I don't want you to stress and be worried about any of these other things. I really want you to be reading, studying, practice questions, and preparing for the test. We'll talk more about some of the assignments in a second. 89.5 or above is an A. You have to pass a clinical performance. This one says final exam with a 70 or better. But that is not true. For the final, it's a 60 or better. But on retake of the grade, and when you retake, if you have to retake anything, which I'm hoping you guys don't have to retake anything at all, you'll receive the lowest passing percentage score. Okay. If you don't turn in your patient log, then you get an incomplete for the course. Again, most of you guys do really well. Every once in a while, you guys, it leaves your mind, and I will remind you, Shandy will remind you, but please just try to stay on top of it. and it's something that is required. Like the dean's office requires that pet log. Like it's not something that you can just get away with not doing. So you have to do it. Okay. Unprofessional behavior, it can be an automatic fail. Um, Obviously, depending on the level of unprofessionalism, but not showing up to your rotation would be one of those things that you could get an automatic fail for. If for some reason you need to be excused for something, you need to you need to be approved. You need to send an email to Shandy and I both, stating what the reason would be. But do not just not go to your rotation. We also have asked our preceptors to let us know if you don't show up. There have been problems with that being clues into other patterns of behavior with students. So, with suicidality, drug use, things like that. And so that's something that we take very seriously. So show up to your rotation. Okay. We talked about this already. All right. For your self exam, it's 100 questions. You get 2.5 hours. A raw score of 60 out of 100 is passing. You'll take your laptop. You guys will use Shandy will give you like the information of how to log in when you show up there, like the code and all that. And it is in a different room that you guys don't normally go to. So you'll want to make sure that you're familiar with where to go before that day. We talked about studying the cases, board review questions, and how to get to the board review questions. You go to afp.org. There is an app as well, just like how UWorld has an app, so that you can easily have access to it. For the didactic sessions, there is a longitudinal Bob case. The patient's name is Bob, for each session. You guys should have already gone through the first Bob case on your own, and we can briefly go through that, but that is one that you did not have to turn anything in for today. But for the subsequent didactic sessions, you'll have one this Friday and then every Wednesday, for the next few weeks. For those, there is something you'll turn in for your Bob cases. There's also a quiz every week. That quiz is not for a grade. It is for your learning purposes. That is something else that I asked Shandy to have you go ahead and go through. And we can quickly go through it as well to see if you have any questions. That is something that different lecturers might handle a little bit differently. Some of them may still want to go through line by line with the Bob case and kind of talk you through it. And they may want to have you split up in groups and try to do the quiz as a group and come up with the answers. They're all have a little bit of freedom with how they want to do that. For us today, and depending on how things go, I typically just ask you guys, do you have any questions about the Bob case? And usually say no, because you've had to go over it and turn it in and you've already had to think about it. And for the quiz as well, if you've already gone through it, then, I'll ask if you guys have any questions about that. Sometimes people are confused about some of the questions or answers, and that's a good time to go through that. And it kind of helps to hold you accountable to study the material as you go. Okay. All of your assignments should be submitted through Leo. If for any reason there's any difficulties, something's being weird with Leo, just go ahead and email it to Shandy. And that way that, there's a timestamp. We know that you turned it in on time and there was no issues. Okay. For the EBM assignment. Again, you'll just submit that through Leo. And Shandy will send me your assignments as well by email. And there's a template for the assignment that you turn in. Whenever you present to me, it's really whatever you want to do to present. If you want to make a PowerPoint, go right ahead. I probably wouldn't recommend that because it's a little time consuming, and I think you could use your time better studying. If you want to just study the template that you turned in onto Leo and just verbally tell me that whenever I see you on that Monday, then that's fine. And you can have that in front of you on your computer, on your phone to reference. I don't mind at all. I prefer for you not to just read off of it, but you can look at it however you need to. And if you want to have your articles readily available to look at, that's fine too, or article. But I do want you to make sure that you pay attention to the requirements for the EBM assignment. The whole point of it is to make sure that you are learning how to look at good research, good articles. So, and one of the requirements is that it's not over 5 years old. And it never fails that I have somebody come in and say, I had I had this patient and it made me think of this question, which is great. And that's part of what you're going to put into your template. And that's great. But then they say, but I couldn't find anything that wasn't less than 5 years old. And so this was the best thing that I could do. And it was a really good study. And that's great. And I love that. But literally one of the requirements for your grade is the year of the article. So if that happens, you probably need to come up with a different question, or I have to dock you. Okay. That being said, with the clinic note that you guys turn in, you need help, Bob? With the clinic note that you guys turn in, also be mindful of what patient that you're going to use. Not that one. What patient you're going to use for your note. I had somebody one time, not kidding you, turn in a note that said like past medical history unable to obtain, social history unable to obtain, medication history unable to obtain. Like there was nothing in the whole note. And then the plan said sent patient to ER for chest pain. And was that appropriate? Was it an appropriate action and plan for the patient? Yes. But is that probably the best note for me to look at to see that you know how to write a note? No. It's a note that you want it to be like the best note that you've ever written for a clinic note. I'm going to turn it down a second, okay? Because I think they might be able to hear your show. Other questions that people ask me is if it's all information that they have to have obtained themselves from the patient. No, because I know that you guys have a wide variety of patients and situations, and you don't always get 20 minutes to sit with a patient and gather all that information. So gather the appropriate information that you would need to get for your preceptor to present that patient for your preceptor. But if it is a brand new patient to the clinic, then that might be a good one to turn in because you've already done all of that work. And if it's somebody that's working with me, and you have EMR access, I try to have you guys go ahead and type out a note while you're standing there working with me in clinic. So that's a really good one to turn in. But if you remember that you missed asking them something in the room, you can go back and ask them, or you can look and see if it's in the chart, and that's fine too. This this grade is not a grade of your patient encounter. This is a grade of your clinic note, your note writing ability. Okay. I will be assessing your patient encounters during your OSCE. So those are two different things. Okay. All right. I think we've talked about, okay. Week 4, dermatology Jeopardy. So this group thing is about the quizzes. I imagine that the lectures don't split you guys up into groups anymore. They might. And if they do, that's fine. You can go along with it. But we old school used to have this where you guys would split up into groups and have like this little scratch off, like a lottery ticket thing. And you guys would decide together which is the right answer and scratch off one of the answers, and if it was right it had a star in the answer, and so it was kind of fun, a fun activity, but we don't have that anymore. And so that's a little bit more of why we used to do it that way. All right, so you guys will have the Bob case that we talked about, and I'll come to that again in a second. EBM assignment we talked about, and this is the breakdown for what I'm grading you on. As far as the presentation, like I told you guys most of that already. Part of your grade is answering questions that I might have. Sometimes I have questions and sometimes I don't. I don't try to force questions. It's just questions that come to me naturally. But if I feel like you don't know the material or you don't know what you're talking about, then I might try to go in and force you to answer something to prove to me that you did actually read your article and that you do know what you're talking about. So for the most part, it's very laid back. And if you do the work and put everything into the template and you present to me, then should be great and should get a great grade and not have to worry about it and just be able to focus on your OSCE. But do your due diligence, read a good article, answer your question, put everything in, and you should be good. Okay. For your clinic note assignment, I talked about most of everything. Make sure that for the chief complaint, and it says it on the template. Again, there's a template for your clinic note assignment as well. I mean, you guys should know how to write a clinic note. But there's a template on there as well. The chief complaint, besides not putting your name on it, is the chief complaint is probably the most common thing that I deduct points for. Because it says chief complaint in patient's own words. And then you guys write chief complaint, blah, 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 blah. And it's, unless this person is a physician themselves, they probably did not say whatever you wrote. It's whenever you go in and say, hi, so what brings you in today? That's the chief, whatever comes out of their mouth right then is what their chief complaint is. Okay. So make sure that you do that appropriately. You can even put it in quotes so that I know that this is what the patient said. Okay. All right, and that's the breakdown of the note. The OSCE, we'll talk about a little bit more now. So again, it's on that same Monday. Shandy will give you, when it's closer to time, what time you're scheduled to do your EBM presentation with me and turn in your medical feedback form, and what time your OSCE is. What I try to do, I try to show up early. So usually it's everything gets started at around 1. I try to show up at 12:30 and start having you guys come and do your mid-goal feedback and EBM presentations early. I tried to get as many of you as I can done well before the last group is going through their OSCE. So that way you're not sitting there having to wait on me until 3:30, 4 o'clock to do that presentation with me. So, okay. So make sure that you show up early, especially if you want to get it done, that part done and out of the way, just go ahead and show up early. There'll be certain groups that I will have to do first to make everything kind of flow. But that way you guys can do that, be done, because usually the EBM, like I said, is really low key, low stress. And then you can just kind of be like, okay, I'm done with that. And now I'm just going to focus on my OSCE stuff. Okay. So that being said, if your OSCE time is not till like 2 o'clock, then it's really hard for me to get you guys all done and moved and there and get all that out of the way if you don't show up until 1:30. Okay. For your OSCE, there's the MSK. There's two different things you're going to be doing: MSK and counseling. Okay. I haven't looked myself on Leo to see, but I redid the instructions completely and combined there had to have been like 5 or 6 different documents under like for OSCE instructions, and it was very redundant, confusing, and all over the place. So I did redo that. I'm slowly trying to redo things for you guys to make things make a little bit more sense in my mind, that I think makes more sense for you guys. So it's all condensed into one document that is on Leo. And in that document, it has everything that you need for the OSCE. But I'm going to tell you some things right now, and we'll have a recording of this video, but they'll also, there's a session that we'll have before your OSCE, either in person or a recording that I've done that I've used many times and it's been good. Because a lot of this is going to go in through one ear and out the other right now, and I know that. But 2 different sessions, okay? For both sessions, this is the most important thing. For both sessions, you're going to do a full entire history. A full entire history, okay? So it's focused, but you're still doing the HPI, you're still doing the past medical, the social, the family, meds, all of those things. Okay. You want to watch this one? Okay. I had one person that didn't get a great grade on their counseling because they just went in and say, "Hi, what do you here? What brings you here today?" And they said, "I'm here because somebody said I'm fat or something." And then they just immediately started doing counseling. It's really, really hard to give good counseling whenever you haven't gone through all of the history. You don't know anything about them. You don't know what they've done. You don't know if they've tried for all these different things. So make sure that you do all of that history for both things. You're only going to do a physical exam for the MSK section. If you try to do a physical exam for the counseling, the SP will stop you. Okay. For your time's sake, because you don't have time to do a physical and do all of your counseling as well. For the MSK, you're going to write a note. For the counseling case, you're not going to write a note. You're going to do the counseling in the room. All right. For the counseling, for the MSK, when you're all done, you'll come out, type your note, while the MSK people are typing their note, um, the counseling, the students that are doing the counseling will come out, and then the SP will gather their thoughts and then have you come back in whenever they're ready to talk to you to give you your feedback. Okay. So they'll give you feedback about the encounters, and then I will grade the MSK note that you guys turn in. All right. For the MSK OSCE and for the counseling OSCE both, the possibilities of diagnosis are on that file under Leo. And we're not trying to trick you. Like I said, I want you guys to get a good grade. So if you do all the things, go through all the steps, gather the information, do the right special tests for whichever MSK complaint they have, then you should be able to get a good grade. It's whenever you leave out entire chunks of something that it's kind of hard to give you a good grade. But we give you all the options. Hold on, okay. We give you all the options for what those MSK things could be. We give you all the options for what those counseling cases could be. So be thinking in your mind ahead of time, like, what would I do for this, or what would I do for this, and kind of go through those things. The purpose of the counseling cases is not to shame them or make them feel bad about whatever they're talking about, but you want to make sure that they know that they came to the right place and that you're glad they came in. You know their history, you know the things that they've tried, you know what risk factors they have, and why it's important to fix whatever's going on. And then you're gonna have a plan that you guys discuss. Make sure in both cases that you have good closure. That's something else that um, is really hard to get points for if you just don't do it. The one of the reasons that people get counted off for that is that they run out of time. They run out of time and then they just have to leave the room. So make sure that you're pacing yourself. But also sometimes you guys just don't ask the right things. You just kind of keep talking and talking, and you never kind of stop to ask what the patient's understanding is, and if they have any questions. Okay. The best way to check a patient's understanding is is the talk back, right? The talk back method, where they tell you, like, okay, what was your understanding of what the plan was going to be? And then, do you have any questions? Make sure that you always ask if they have any questions and you assess their comprehension. Okay. All right. The interprofessionalism assignment is towards the end. It's week 4. It's something else that you'll want to be kind of looking for as you're seeing patients, to kind of think about, oh, this would be a good one for me to do for my interprofessional assignment. The point of it is to kind of understand how sometimes certain patients can be very complex and we need lots of help, especially at family medicine. I mean, pretty much every single patient could be one of these, for one, can fulfill this assignment. But things like understanding how we have to navigate using like the social workers and with our pharmacists, because this patient can't pay for this medication, or they weren't able to get here because we had to contact Sooner Ride and teach them how to do Sooner Ride, or the county pharmacy, and filling out other kinds of paper, like exemption paperwork or physical therapy stuff, and all the different barriers that we can have to patient care, and all the different resources and the interprofessional resources that we use to accomplish getting the patient better and where they need to be. Okay. All right. There is, Don't know if I missed something in the chat. 1 second. Okay. Do you guys have any questions at all? I know that was a lot of information. Okay. I don't hear any questions. Did you guys find the Bob case for today and the quiz for today? And if you did, were you able to go through it? Do you have any questions? And from my view on Leo, the answers are to the quiz are also on there. And so I don't know if you guys were able to look at that either, but if you guys have any questions or want to go through the Bob case, or if you want to go through the quiz, I'm more than happy to do that too. What do you guys think about those things? Anybody? Okay. If everybody was there anybody that couldn't find the case or couldn't find the quiz? Or is there anybody that wants to go over either of those things? Okay. So I'm going to take that as no, you're good to go. You understood both those assignments. You don't have any questions. Okay. Anything else that you guys need from me right now? All right. Well, you guys enjoy your day studying tomorrow. And be looking out for what the plan is for Wednesday. Otherwise, you guys stay safe and please email me and Shandy if there's anything at all that you need or any questions that you think of after this session once we depart. All right. Talk to you guys later. Oh, hold on. All right. Bye.
Bye. Mm.